The crypto queen that got away. Oh, that stuff sounds like it's from a Katy Perry pop song, except most muses don't steal $4 billion from crypto investors. That's right. Today we're talking about Ruja Ignatova. Wait, you don't know who that is? Shame on you, because you know who SBF and Logan Paul are, and this queen outdid those jokers. Thank you. That's right. We're turning the puns on early today, and I'm never gonna shut them off, not even if you beg me to. It's America's attorney here, Josh Stanford, to talk about crypto scams. Now, joining us is our friendly neighborhood con man, Matt Cox, to discuss the strategy behind the scam, the charges brought against her, the sexist FBI most wanted list, and more. Now, there's an important lesson to be learned about how crypto scams can rise so quickly and fall so fast. So lawyer up right now. Join this special community to get content like this by subscribing for free to this channel. Before my co-host jumps in, it's time for about a 30-second history lesson. Ruja Ignatova, aka the crypto queen, owned an early Bitcoin rival called Onecoin. Only it wasn't a Bitcoin rival, it was a pyramid scheme that allegedly stole up to $15 billion from investors. Now, 6 years ago, she was charged with wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, securities fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering before disappearing into the sunset with approximately $4 billion with a B dollars. Now I summon Matt Cox. Oh, hey Matt. Whenever you look at any kind of scandal for someone in government, it's what did she know and when did she know it, right? Because everything after that's a cover up, typically. And there's some of those elements that are kind of coming out in the crypto queen story, because she's got apparently friends inside of the Bulgarian government who are helping her evade, elude, capture.
Really?
Yeah. I gotta call her the crypto queen because it's a totally awesome name. And she dubbed herself that. And that's like kind of, to me, the most important fact of this whole story.
I don't feel like you get to dub yourself. When I was in prison, I tried to push the name Chainsaw. Nobody would call me Chainsaw. And when they say, hey, well, what do they call you? I go, the Chainsaw. And they would look, guys would be like,
no, man.
Stop, bro.
No, maybe handsaw.
Yeah, you're not a chainsaw.
Okay, so I know that you've seen the Seinfeld episode where George decides that he wants to be called T-Bone, right?
Yes.
So they go to lunch and he orders a T-bone steak, and then somebody beside him orders a T-bone steak, and they decide to call that guy T-Bone. And George is like, no, I ordered a T-bone first. I get to be called T-Bone. It's the coolest nickname.
Yeah.
You know what they end up calling him later in the episode? They see him like dancing in the hallway, stomping, and maybe he has a banana in his hand. They end up calling him Coco the monkey. So
yeah. You definitely don't get to pick your own nickname.
No, but she did. And that actually is that's what's at the center of this entire story.
This is horrible. But, like most Ponzi schemes not that this isn't, well, in a way, it could be a Ponzi. It is a Ponzi scheme.
I mean, yeah, the Department of Justice has straight up labeled it as a Ponzi. They said they took early money. They took secondary money and gave it to early investors to prove that they were making money.
Right. Just as a part of like I call it the maintenance, for the scam. You have to maintain the scam for the longer you can maintain the illusion, the more sellable the scam is. But so what's interesting is most Ponzi schemes don't start off as Ponzi schemes. It's typically a legitimate investment strategy that goes wrong, and they typically will we had a bad quarter, and then they cover it because they're afraid to tell their investors because they'll pull out, and then then the whole business collapses, and they're like, shoot. And they're like, usually it's some kind of anomaly. And they're like, it was an anomaly. It won't happen again. We'll make up for it over the next 6 months. And then something else goes wrong. What ends up happening is ultimately they just get deeper and deeper, and it collapses in and on itself because they can't maintain it. Well, most of them start off legitimate. What I admire about hers is that it was never legitimate. It was kind of the Charles Ponzi thing where it was never legitimate. You had a basic concept that you were pitching, but you never even tried this thing was never legitimate. This was always a scam for her. It was always going to be a scam.
Let me give the America's attorney version of what a cryptocurrency is so that we're on the same page. Okay.
Right.
Cryptocurrency is a closed ecosystem. If it works because there is a blockchain that anyone can participate in, anyone can see, and no one can change. Itself, a record of everything. And it's not forgeable, it's not changeable, and it tracks everything. That's why it will eventually, digital currency will eventually rule the day. I don't know that it will be unbacked digital currency because of the volatility issues. I mean, no one wants to sell a bale of hay on Wednesday for a certain amount and then find out on Thursday that the money that they got is worth, 1/3 of whatever they got for it. But what's fascinating about this is that they never had a blockchain program. Yeah. They were selling cryptocurrency, but they never had a blockchain.
Yeah, I saw it. And that they were able to, it's not like they were manipulating the market by buying and selling. They actually went in and were able to actually go in and do it themselves. They were able to just change the numbers themselves to make it look like there was volatility and it was going up. And it was like, and then did you see the quotes where she was like, make sure we always close on an up as it's going up to build confidence.
Yeah.
So every day, let's close with it going up. So it's people feel good about it.
So I think it's important to have the larger crypto context here. This thing started in 14 and the wheels came off in 16. And she disappeared in 16. And I want to talk about her disappearance with you because I'm fascinated by it. New identities, I think, are like a really an American concept. It's something that Americans have been doing, heading to the West and restarting. I mean, that's how America started for a lot of people here. It's like this promise of a new life, not always based in crime, but sometimes. But this company starts in 14. The wheels come off in the summer of 16. She disappears in October of 16. Bitcoin is happening, right? Bitcoin is happening, but it doesn't blow up until 17.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. She disappears in 17.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so she's indicted on October 12th, 2017, and on the 25th, she gets on a plane in Bulgaria, Sofia, Bulgaria, and she flies to Athens, Greece.
Yeah.
And she's never seen since.
I was off by 1 year, but the absolute rush into Bitcoin where it blew up happened after this. So her whole rise and fall occurred, although Bitcoin was definitely surging, it was happening. It wasn't how it got to be for the 4-year period from 18 to 22.
You feel like maybe people, took this as an example and just to put their money into Bitcoin instead of looking for the next best thing? Is that what, or?
No, I don't think so. I actually think had she timed her scam 18 months later, she could have made 10 times as much money. Because
what are you going to do with $4 billion?
Yeah, because Bitcoin had already left the station and people are like, well, I can't invest in that. It's already gone up so much, but here's Onecoin. And that name is a baller name. Onecoin?
It is, but are you telling me you're disappointed that she only got $4 billion?
No.
You're like, hey, she could have gotten 10. She's a sucker.
Okay, so first of all, you're putting
$4 billion
words in my mouth. It never happened. It's mostly Chinese money that she got.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Yeah, so I mean, you make a joke, and I get it, but the reality is, when she was peaking in terms of the amount that she was stealing from the public, it was only 50 million from the U.S. That is not a lot of money relative to the damage she was doing to people out in the world, right?
Yes.
What I wanted to say is, had her scam started 2 years later, I think it would have been way, way bigger. But I mean, we're all lucky, I guess, that it started earlier. But like one of the facts that I came across that I thought was astounding was they posted, they were looking for a programmer. I think the article said it was posted on LinkedIn. This is from a BBC article. Looking for a job. This guy says, I'm interested. They call him up. It's €250,000 euros a year. And okay, what exactly will I be doing? And they say, well, we're a cryptocurrency company, Onecoin. We've been in operation for like 1.5 years. And we need someone to develop a blockchain for us. And the guy reports that he basically hung up on him. He's like, how can I pretend that this is a legitimate company if you're telling me that your business is a blockchain and you're 18 months in and you don't have one? Now, as a former scammer, whatever you are, what do you think their process is 18 months into it and now they're looking for a blockchain developer?
I mean, maybe they were thinking we can extend that. Maybe they were getting complaints and they thought we can extend this if we go ahead and create an actual product, or maybe we can just move, this money to another project.
Yep.
And maybe we can make this legit in some way or extend the scam. But
yeah, so when I hear that, I don't think, oh, they're trying to make it legitimate. they're trying to stretch it out. They're like, well, we got to paper this so that it looks more like, more like Bitcoin. In that, there has to be a limited number. I mean, it might be a really big number, but there has to be a limited number of idiots and crazy people who will invest in something that's like obviously a scam, right?
Yes.
But it's a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think they are investing because they think it's a scam, or maybe they think it's a pump and dump scheme, but I'm going to come in at the bottom and I'm going to sell just before the top. Problem is, how do you know that? How do you know when that is?
Yeah. So a lot of their revenue was not from the purchase of coins, but from the purchase of educational materials about crypto. And I don't know if you read this, but they have levels. You can have, it's like you can pay in as a day laborer, and then as a manager, and then as an executive, and then as a tycoon. And you can pay all this money to get educational materials. And then, of course, now that you know their version of the crypto world, you'll want to spend more money.
I didn't know that was the different levels, but I did know that, I knew it was obviously, the multi marketing. I also knew that they were selling courses.
Yeah.
The training courses. I didn't realize they were different levels, but I think, this thing I was going to ask you about, because when we get to her taking off, I watched like a 5-minute video I was going to mention to you. But the other thing I noticed is that I keep saying $15 billion. Is that what the entire scheme brought in? Because it looks like she made $4 billion and took off. But I've also seen it's a $15 billion scam.
Yeah, I think 15 is the total amount of money they're saying that passed through the organization.
Okay.
And then 4 is what they, I think, believe that she and maybe also the other people at the top were able to get away with.
Well, I mean, they were saying she's like hers is just 4.
Wow.
4 billion. I don't know what these like the other ones. They had this guy was at like 3. Somebody else was at like 1 point something. I don't know.
So that's a lot of money, right? It's so much money. In the US, she's got these little nothing charges. Fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, wire fraud, securities fraud, maybe like 4 total counts. That's nuts. She's obviously done way more than that. If they can prove 4, they can prove 400, 4,000.
Well, I thought you were saying that 50 million came from the US.
That was in the first half of 2016.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't the total. It wasn't the total amount. But that's really so. Here's a question I have for you. Do you think there's some strategy involved with the U.S. attorney when you look at the scam and then you're like, oh, she got undercharged, right? They didn't throw the book at her.
Well, they can only charge her for what the crime she committed in the United States. And let's face it, they could charge her with 1 count of wire fraud, get her here, and then use all of the, what do they call the other extenuating circumstances, and then balloon up her sentence to something astronomical.
Do you know why she's back in the news right now?
I thought it was because they thought they found her.
No, I don't believe so. She has been the subject of an 8-part series that aired on BBC, basically called like Searching for the Crypto Queen. They follow all these leads. They never find her. The current theory that people have is that she lives in Frankfurt, Germany.
I can't believe you just said that. I mean, what about maybe I want to watch the series? You just ruined it.
Oh,
maybe you just gave away the ending. I was like, spoiler.
Oh, so the ending is that it doesn't have an ending. They have to make more episodes. We're still mid-season, so go knock yourself out.
All right. So what? Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, so her brother pled guilty last fall in the U.S.
Yeah.
And he's getting sentenced the first week of April.
Yeah. He's got the tattoos. He doesn't look real smart. But he's kind of a muscle head.
You tell me he started out as a customer and ended up as a
he ends up the fall guy. She's like, look, you go ahead and run this. He's the kind of guy that you say, listen, I'm going to start this business with you. I'll run everything, but occasionally I'm going to have you sign a document. Okay. No, sure. No problem. And then you go ahead and he signs some documents, you get some pictures put it on the website as the president. And 2 years later, when everything falls apart, you leave on the jet and he's sitting there going, I was just her bodyguard. And they're like, I don't know. Says you were the CEO. There's a lot of pictures of you shaking hands. A lot of stuff came from your email. Is this your signature?
Yeah, they can. I mean, Theoretically, yes, but because they succeeded in grabbing both her boyfriend and her brother, they've got the emails from back in 14. They basically say in bold caps, this is a Ponzi scheme. Our exit strategy is take the money and run. That's what we're going to do. When the heat gets up, we're out of here.
Listen, the best extra strategy is for her to have put her brother as the CEO, brought him on stage a few times, go to the U.S. Attorney's office and say, listen, I think my brother's running a Ponzi scheme.
Yes. Oh my word.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe he did this. Because otherwise you got to live in the desert in Dubai somewhere, riding camels and stuff. I can't be riding camels the rest of my life. I got $4 billion. I've got to live my life.
So there were investigations, there were raids, they were always ready for them. They, for about a year or so back in 16 and early 17, they were just keeping one step ahead of it because it was very early on that some governments were saying, this is a scam, people ought not invest.
What I noticed is I watched a video that my editor sent me because, they've been looking for her, obviously. She's on the FBI's most wanted list, but they thought she was... Go ahead, make a crack. Go ahead. I saw a crack. Are they?
You crack. I want to talk about the FBI's most wanted list.
Okay.
It's so sexist. There's been 529 people on the most wanted list. How many women?
Oh yeah, it's unfair.
11.
It's not right.
11.
It really should be. It really should be more evenly spread out. Like I think it should be at least 50%. You should have at least 3 Asians in there. It should be 13% Black and 10% Hispanic. And they really, it's not right.
She's the 11th woman to get on the list out of 529. And
overachiever.
Yeah. I don't think that she deserves to be on the list.
No?
What's the criteria?
They're looking for you. Listen, I was #1 on the Secret Service's most wanted list. Come on, who am I?
Yeah.
There's other people.
Is the Secret Service list even on the internet? That thing's probably on the dark web. No one even knows about it.
I didn't even know they had one until I was reading an article on me and I was like, what? That's crazy.
Yeah. I like getting on the Secret Service most wanted list is like getting drafted into the minor leagues or whatever. Until you make it on the FBI's list, I'm like, you're not that good.
So they're looking for her, right?
Yeah.
I saw a video, like they didn't know where she was, right? They're saying maybe Dubai, maybe Greece, maybe she's in Bulgaria. So her brother took a photograph of himself 6 months after she was missing. He took a selfie of himself in a downtown area with kind of a little bit of a downtown area behind him. Some computer geek went on Google, tracked down, like how much time do you have to do this? Track down all the different areas and determine can't be Bulgaria, can't be here, can't be there. Finally said, here it is in Dubai. These are the buildings. Went down, then he went around until he could station it to the camera and angle it in such a way that he was like, these are the same buildings, matched up stains on walls, cracks, everything. And determine the exact location he had to be standing in the backyard of this house when he took the picture and has the actual address of the house where he believes it is.
A civilian did this or a government investigator?
No, this is a civilian. Colby sent me the link. I watched it. I was like, that's amazing.
That dude would make a really bad ex-husband.
This he's good.
I think he could ruin your life if he was your ex.
Let's say, where is it?
The exact buildings in the same order as in the selfie. So he thinks, great. I can now tell you that it is in Dubai. Where in Dubai? Well, I'll use Google Satellite to start trying to look down at where those buildings are and try and work out a line of sight using sort of basic geometry really to try to pinpoint down to the exact location. And he starts matching up like trees, pylons, small buildings, walls that he can see on Google Satellite that match the background of the Instagram selfie, all the way until he's able to identify little patches of like stains on walls, and then finds the house using Google Satellite that matches the picture and basically sends us an address and says, this is where the photo was taken in the back garden of that property on that street.
Really interesting. Like he believes he's tracked.
Did it help locate the dude?
Who? You mean
the,
her?
the brother or the fiance or the boyfriend?
The crypto queen. They're saying this is where her house is. The brother was standing in Dubai, and the reason they think he was at her house is because they're saying he said he was in like Greece or Bulgaria. He wasn't. They're like, okay, you're not there. So you post it 6 months after she goes on the run. You end up posting this and saying, hey, I'm in Bulgaria. Why would you lie and say you were in Bulgaria? You were probably visiting your sister, because it turns out you were in Dubai. So you just lied. You're lying to cover something, most likely because you were somewhere you didn't want anybody to know where you were. So it's very interesting. I'm ready to get on a plane and go. You know, I got to get permission from the judge to travel. You know, and I have to. You know, I've got some barriers, but you know, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this. You're in her situation. You're loaded with cash, presumably. Are your odds better getting in a spot and staying there or moving around?
You know, my problem is that every time you hit the news, I feel like you have to move around. Or unless you're going to say, hey, I'm going to build my little paradise and I'm just going to hunker down. Like if you could build it remotely, and then you could go there and stay there and have almost no contact with the outside world. Like, look, in Dubai, like, I'm not sure how much interaction you have to have. If you have a staff of people, you don't think you have to have much of an interaction. I think the problem is how is is that really, you're almost in prison.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, how much better is that than prison? It seems really uninteresting. And at least in prison, you can have contact in some ways with your old life, your family.
Right. Yeah. And if you have, look, for you to pull off this scam, she has to be sociopathic, right? So,
yeah.
So, you know, in some ways, she's extremely antisocial. She invited her own family into a scam that she knew was going to collapse. She didn't give anybody a warning that she was leaving. She hasn't reached out really necessarily to her brother or her family. I think if she got multiple plastic surgeries, lost weight, like did some body changing, and then made some real physical changes, and then up and moved somewhere else, she could probably disappear.
Yeah.
Women are great because women can wear makeup and do their hair and
hairstyles. Yeah.
And body, an extra 30 pounds. Like she was pretty heavy. I mean, not super heavy, but she could lose 40 pounds, get a boob job, work out, get some multiple plastic surgeries, change her hair. She'd look like a completely different person.
Yeah.
And move, and she would be unrecognizable. And she's got the money to get multiple passports. I think she could stay gone.
Okay, so I want to give you, so she's been on the run now since 17, so almost 5.5 years. Let's put that aside, and I want you to tell me how long she can stay gone from now. Like today is day one. How long can she stay gone?
I mean, I'm saying, if she's smart, probably indefinitely.
Oh, no. Indefinitely?
You don't think? Look, Whitey Bulger was gone for, 16, 17 years? I knew a guy that was on the run for 25 years. The problem is, I don't think it's that they track you down as much as you just make a mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what happens. You get, so lazy and so overly confident that you end up going, you know what? I can reach out to Jimmy. I haven't talked to my old buddy Jimmy. It's been a decade. I can reach out to Jimmy, and thinking they've forgotten about me. I haven't been in the news. I'd like to know what's going on. He can catch me up. And you reach out to him, and Jimmy, guess what? Jimmy's son got arrested. He's in federal prison right now. And the FBI said, listen, if your old buddy, so-and-so ever reaches out to you, we can get your son out of prison if you'll help set him up. And sure enough, that's it.
So I have, my assumption is that the degree to which she can be associated with her brother is very, 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 very slight, right? In his pre-apprehension state. So like the first 2 years she was on the run.
Yeah.
I guarantee you they've had no contact since then, right?
Not unless it was through a family member and it was in the confidence of visitation.
How much leverage does he have in his sentencing if he can produce information that brings her in?
In all my time of seeing people's plea agreements, and you know what a Rule 35 is and a 5K1. So typically in the federal system, unlike the state, in most states, they'll say, look, if you're getting 10 years, if you do this, we'll give you 4 years. And they'll put it in writing.
Yeah.
And the judge can be bound by that. So in some states, in the federal system, they will not promise you anything. It's like, you do this and we'll consider it. And they go, oh, how much will you give me off? No, we'll think about what to give you off after you deliver.
So her brother can't hand law enforcement her on a silver platter, not even close. But he can give helpful information, right?
Right.
Presumably in some way, even if it's just layers that they have to dig through.
Well, he's not, let's face it, he's not what do you think he's facing anyway? I mean, how much time do you think he'll get? He's certainly not the top dog. He's not the brightest bulb in the house.
Yeah, I would need to look at his charges. I guess he's like, if she's the crypto queen, he's like the crypto jack or the.
I was going to say, I was thinking more like the gesture. You saw him.
Yeah, the crypto jester. I mean, probably like 7 or 8 years, right? I don't know.
Yeah. So you give him 10 years, he gets a drug program, some halfway house. Good time. This guy's going to be out in 7 years, 6 years. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Yeah, let's say, yeah, you're right. 8, 10 years, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, how about this? We're going to give you 2 years. When you get out, you need to lead us to her within 2 years, or else you're coming back in for another 5 years.
I know that's not how they do it.
I know, but is that not that would be a great story. Right?
It would be like, it's that you're getting creative, way more creative than they would get. Like they don't have that type of creativity in them.
Right. He needs to do a legitimate stint in prison, and then he needs to get out, and they just need to use him to get to her. But they'll never do that for a number of reasons. One of them is like, their attitude is they don't need this guy. We'll go find her on our own. We're the best.
Yeah. Well, let's face it, they don't. Well, in the Fed and state, like they don't convict anybody without people cooperating. It's especially even with documents. Like it's hard to stand up in front of a jury and just read off the documents without somebody sitting on the stand saying, these are the documents. This is what it means.
Yeah. You
can't expect a bunch of people that couldn't get themselves out of jury duty to figure out what the bank statements mean. It's just,
Sidebar, you should never try to get out of jury duty. Matt is talking crazy, and your opportunity to be on the jury is not a duty. It's one of the greatest opportunities that we have in a democratic republic.
So, like, this is the tape they're gonna play when you're, at the bar when they're reprimanding you. They'll be like, "What about this? Who's this guy?"
He said 4 billion wasn't that big of a scheme. What's he running?
Actually,
Matt Cox, absolute pleasure to have you on the channel today. I've been on your channel a few times. It was super fun. I feel like I learn stuff every time I talk to you. It's very interesting. So thanks a lot for coming on.
No problem.
It was so great to have Matt on the channel. Now, Logan Paul has been sued. SBF has been charged with multiple felonies, but not all crypto scammers get what's coming to them. Justice is served, they say, but not always. Sometimes the bad guy or gal boards a plane to Greece and is never seen again. Remember, please, I beg you, do me a favor and remember the crypto queen the next time you run into an investment scheme that sounds too good to be true. Now it's time for your pro se opinion. What do you think of the Onecoin scheme? Will the crypto queen ever be caught? Did you enjoy having Matt Cox on as a guest? Make sure you check out his channel, Inside True Crime. I've been a guest on his channel 3 times. I thoroughly enjoyed having him on this channel to give his expert insight on scams. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe to join the great community we have on this channel. It's never too soon to lawyer up. And make sure you check out these videos. All right, bye.